Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mr. Arsenal podcast. First part of a two-parter this week. We're up to the cup final. Basically, be a bit of a preview, and we're going to look back on our individual memories of the FA Cup final and FA Cup in general. And also joined tonight by Stan. How you doing, Stan?
Very well. Thanks for having me.
In a way, especially the time difference. Blimey. It's been so hard getting guests on because obviously time difference is certain people like yourselves and John that bit below. So I'm grateful for you being, especially at last minute as well, to come on. Obviously, John, also associated with Tom from Laguna Talk. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on again.
No, probably been a long time since the last had you on as well. So
yeah, it's been a little bit.
Long overdue.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. Thank you.
You're welcome. And obviously, last but not least, Jason's back again after, what was it, I think last couple of weeks ago, when you actually said... You actually,
it's 3 or 4 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, before the semi-final, you actually said what an achievement would it be to get to a final or get Champions League. And we've got one of them.
You get European football after a season like this, and it's a great credit to the guys. Everybody's contributed. So fingers crossed, Saturday, boys. Fingers crossed. The butterflies are going already.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was just about to ask, how's everyone's nerves a few days before the actual cup final? Are we all nervous, or is it literally I don't want to watch the final because it could be repeated back here again?
Well, the reality for me is really beginning to kick in now. I mean, like Jason says, I'm beginning to feel like the butterflies in my stomach, as I've been on a couple of podcasts as well, so we've been talking about it. So I can't hide from it. It's coming. I can't wait. And for me in Vancouver, the night before, because you guys in the UK, you get up in the morning, you have your breakfast, and you go through your day, and you ease into the match. For me, it's like Christmas morning. I go to bed, but I can't sleep because I know in a few hours' time, as soon as I jump out of bed, it's on. It's happening.
Again, I said this off air. Who would have thought the season we've had, especially in the league, and obviously getting knocked out Europa early as well, we're in the cup in the cup final, have a chance of having some silverware, and we finished 8th and ninth in the league. Sorry, 8th or 9th in the league, whatever. It's that bad. I can't even remember where we fucking finished, but it's such a. And yet you got that Letburn Nevo celebrating 7th or 6th or whatever, like it's a major thing. We're actually we could potentially with 90 minutes away from winning an FA Cup. Arteta's first trophy in his first few months in his first ever job. Like. Did anyone see this coming back in December when he walked through the door? Even the most optimistic Arsenal fan, seriously.
The one thing he's given us is direction. Okay, the problem you've had is as soon as lockdown hit, all that momentum stopped.
Yeah.
You had the City game, which was painful, but if you look at the actual facts of the City game. You get I can't remember the boy's name, the Spanish centre-half for City.
Marley. Garcia.
City. Garcia, yeah. He gets away with arms all over Lacazette. Is it Lacazette? Yeah. And yet, Luis gets a red card, a straight red in the penalty box. Then you go and you have the aberration that was Brighton. Which is just horrendous. And all of a sudden, everybody's on a downward spiral. Everybody's negative. Everybody, Luis isn't good enough for the club, this, that, and the other. And then we work our way back up. Well, other than the Villa game and we've got a couple of bad results, but actually the direction of travel is all in a positive direction. You know what I mean? The togetherness is coming together. We're seeing players who've suffered from really bad coaching. I'm sorry, but Unai Emery is an absolute joke at Arsenal. Okay, you can't knock his Sevilla record. You can't knock PSG fans knock what he did there. But he left us an absolute basket case, and now we're heading in the right direction. We've earned this place. Didn't see it happening. Got to be honest, they didn't have a Scooby-Doo, but so chuffed for the guys now they're there because they've earned it.
Just an update in this playoff, by the way. It's apparently Brentford are 2-0 up against Swansea. Not a good, not a good week for the
They scored twice in 5 minutes. It was crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Not a good week for the Welsh lads, Jace.
No, all my mates support the Swans, so
dear.
they'll be gutted, poor buggers, if that carries on.
Oh dear. I mean, it says something as well. Since the job Arteta's done since he's coming back in that just after Christmas with Bournemouth onwards, that we're all gutted about Mustafi being out of the squad for Saturday. Like we consider that a major bad thing for us because of how much improved he's been as well under Arteta. As Jason says, about the coaching, Arteta. This is what I've said since obviously Arteta's come and gave it a few weeks. I've got to see what he was doing, and he's been getting performances week in and week out. Maybe not the results all the time, but performances from the players that Unai Emery couldn't do in just over 18 months. And this guy, and one of them's got the experience. Like, people need to show Arteta some respect for what he's achieved so far. Not like go completely overboard and go, well, this is the prodigal son returning, whatever. But to show him some respect, he's doing something that no one thought we'd ever do in the first place with this squad of players. Even I thought, when he came in, like, season's gonna be a write-off. Come in the summer, get his players in, get the players. This was a pandemic. Get the players he wants out, players he wants in, and we go again. And next season, you can start really you can judge him then from next season onwards. But he's done such a great, fantastic job. And I keep saying, if he got Champions League or the FA Cup, something solid to go to the board when the window opens. Obviously, it's open now, but when we're done playing football for the next month and a half, you can go to the board and say, this is what I've done with this lot who have been underachieving under Emery, or Lundberg for a brief period, Emery, and then post Wenger as well, near the end of Wenger's tenure. I know who I need to keep. Help me get rid of the players I don't want, and help me get the players I think I know fit where I want to take this club. Do that, and I can get us back into Champions League quicker than expected. I can get us competitive. I mean, another example, before I pass on to John there, Liverpool. It was a similar situation when Klopp came in. Absolute shambles when he walked through the door. No way would have said any player in that team would go on to win a title. Yeah, he's kept a handful of them. They finished eighth in his first part of that first season. Season he came in, they finished eighth. He then spent the summer recruiting players at lower tier clubs in the Premier League, Mane's, your Wijnaldums, etc., and a few little players from abroad as well. And he started building the foundation from there. They then got Champions League the following season. He then brought Salah in and added a few more bits. And now, a couple of years later, they were now Premier League champions, the best team in the country, not just in the country, in Europe. It just shows backing the manager, the board back the manager. And my only doubt with this board is one man at the moment, and that's Raul. He's the only person I'm sceptical of. Because Edu, I don't get what anyone says about him. He'll bleed Arsenal because he's played for Arsenal. He knows he's been there in the glory years. Josh and Stain don't have a fucking clue, clearly, because I've brought Raul in, and there's a whole situation there. But Edu is a footballing man. He's the only footballing man I know that club that will actually bend over backwards and do his job. John, I'll pass on to you because I'm rambling on now. What about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that there's a lot to be said about what Arteta has done with this team, especially with the expectations I think a lot of us had for him, which were fairly low given what we just came from with Emery. So I definitely think there's some absolute merit in that. And there's definitely a way to analogize what we've done with this club with what Liverpool's done. Whether we're as successful at it, I think time is going to tell in that regard. But you can definitely see a similar trajectory in terms of where they were and kind of where they were going. Hopefully we can emulate that to an extent that it provides us the same kind of success and squad building and a cohesive plan going forward that happened with Liverpool and their American owners. So I definitely see that analogy. I think that a lot of the criticism Emery had previously, going to one of Jason's comments, is absolutely warranted. I think we saw a lot of issues in terms of being able to identify a cohesive plan and strategy going forward. There were some moments where we were kind of excited just because it was kind of new and novel. But I think that overall the detriments, or rather the shortfalls, outweighed any kind of positive benefit we might have seen in terms of fight from the team, which is something that we were really asking for as fans going forward. I think that a lot of criticism it masks over a lot of the benefit that Emery had done in the past. Like, for example, introducing players like Martinelli and Saka. And you can argue over whether that was a result of just not having enough players in the squad and needing to do it out of necessity versus actually allowing these players to give a chance, or identifying something in them that allowed them to go play and get the opportunity to do what they could. So I'm glad to see that Arteta's kind of taken over that reign of being able to utilize these younger talents. I don't think it's as much of a situation where he has to do it, so it's not as much of a necessity. I think when you look at the contract situation with players like Saka, you've seen how Arteta's kind of really made these players into almost first team selection right off the bat. Some of the first names on the team sheet. I think if Martinelli were fit, he'd be one of the first names on the team sheet, or at least making it difficult for Arteta to determine who's going to play up front, Lacazette or Aubameyang, to get a goal threat going forward. When you look at his goals per minute, so when you look at the overall picture here and where we came from in terms of Emery, I think that there's some very reasonable criticism, and there's also some absolute identifiable benefits that we've gotten from Arteta and the squad's gotten from Arteta. And the fact that we're in an FA Cup final is not a mistake. The fact that we beat Liverpool and then beat City right one after another is not a mistake. I think that we might have gotten lucky with some of the calls in the Liverpool match, but I think that in order to capitalize on those mistakes, and I'm sure you've talked about it before, you have to have the awareness and the wherewithal to actually put those chances in the back of the net and to capitalize against the best team in Europe, and in this season the best team in the Premier League. So in terms of a trajectory, there's absolutely been a positive trajectory in terms of Arteta. It's extremely exciting. Whether, going to one of your comments, the board actually gives him the requisite funds that he needs to strengthen the squad is up for debate. I think that's kind of been the big issue that Arsenal fans have had with this level of management is, are they going to invest in the areas that we need? I mean, we've needed a holding defensive midfielder for how long now? I mean, 4 years. So, whether we make those decisions will be determinative of, or be determined rather, by the market, by the funds that are given to Arteta, by the spaces that we have in European football and the financial situation we get in terms of a supplemental income from being in Europe, for example, if we win the FA Cup. So this match is huge. Really nervous about it. Also, like part of those nerves is just that I'm kind of feel good about going into this final, better than I did against the last final with Chelsea, because and I guess we'll talk about our favorite FA Cup final moments at some point, but that last one for me was a big one. So it looks positive going forward, and we can't complain about being in the FA Cup final.
Jason, you're just having a little giggle there. So anything to add there?
No, I just great minds think alike.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's one of those where we look at what's gone before, okay? We're in a stronger position now, I feel, going into this cup final. Whether we win or lose is besides the point, right? We play to a strategy, and like John said about the Man City game, we earned that. We didn't look, the Liverpool game, I thought we were lucky. We rode our luck and we got away with it. But the City game, we earned it. And it was a hell of a performance. You compare that with last season going into the UEFA to the Europa Cup final, where after Rambo got injured, we relied on Lacazette and Aubameyang to drag us through the Valencia ties. Because all over the park we were poor. Now, earlier on you said, this group of players, everybody's slagging off our players. Well, let me give everybody a reminder. David Luiz has won the Champions League. Bernd Leno is represented, I know he's out at the moment, he's a German international. Mustafi's a World Cup winner. You know, Xhaka, captain his country. These aren't bad players. That's all you need to do is take one look at that video of Emery in training when he's back and forth, arms going. That's not a fucking coach. That's a disorder. You're doing me a fucking favour. These aren't bad players. But we get on this treadmill of slagging them down. Give them a fucking break. Bill Belichick. John will know this one. No, not even the greatest players can overcome poor coaching. If you're allowing 30 to 40 runs through onto your back four, well, guess what? Franz Beckenbauer is letting in 6. They're all like bunny in the headlights. They're all making mistakes. We've got, I don't think we've got the midfield to sort of take this group forward. You get rid of Torreira, get rid of Guendouzi, bring 3 in, and then develop the rest. But look at this cup final. Chelsea are as susceptible to mistakes as we are. We can beat them. We've got to get parity in that midfield, and we've got to give our guys a chance. It's all going to depend on who he's going to play at full back, at wing back. Because if Hector is pushing on down there, I fancy going Maitland-Niles rather than Saka, leaving Saka on the bench to come on later, tying them up, and with his pace pushing them back. If you can get that, and then you got Tierney coming in and underlapping or overlapping on Maitland-Niles, you could have forced something there. But I'm excited for Saka. I am excited. I just hope that the guys. I just hope we can get it over the line. I think we can, but we're it's going to have to be another mammoth performance.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and you look at Chelsea, like us. There's, as you said, there's susceptible to errors, especially the defence. They make more errors than us. I think, from what I've seen, it's absolutely ridiculous. I think their only real threat for me is our former striker, Olivier Giroud, with his aerial play. If we can get stop the wing, like the crosses coming in, but have someone stuck on him that physically can match him, that's half the battle won, in my opinion. Stan, what about you think it's out there?
I mean, it almost feels like since football's come back, I've been saying before every single game, wow, this game was really important. But this one really is. This one really is important. It is, right? It is. But it's not only that I'm nervous about it going into a cup final like you usually are. I'm really, really sort of, not excited, but quite nervous. Because I think there's so much riding on this game of how we move forward as a team, Examples. What we do in the summer, I think, could really depend on what happens in this game. There's a lot of a couple of key names that have been mentioned and linked with Arsenal. The main one being someone like Thomas Partey, and I think the main reason that has been dragging along, and there's been no sort of approach by Arsenal, even though he's got a buyout clause, is because they're waiting to see what happens with this game.
Yeah.
Also, as well, I think it could be a deciding factor on whether Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang decides to sign on what happens with this game. So I just think there's so many key factors of this game. It really is an important game. And we can't continue to go into next season and start next season and finishing matches and turn around and saying that our best player on the field was one of our 2 goalkeepers. Now that has to change. As much as I love the goalkeepers and they've been doing a fantastic job, we can't keep giving a man of the match. We've got an outfield player's got to get it at some point. That has to change. So, I'm really, so just to round up, I'm excited about going into the game, but I'm extremely nervous because I really think that the board are waiting they're pinning all bets on what happens with this game.
It does seem like, especially if you listen to the UK media over here, which again, I take a lot of what the UK media say over here, especially on Sky Sports as well, I take it with a grain of salt, because 9 times out of 10 they fucking get it wrong. But how they word things, it does seem like, yeah, as you said, the board are waiting to make any activity until after Saturday, and then basing if we are successful, go for the first choices of what Arteta wants. If not, they've got backups apparently, so this could mean anything. Just don't go to Roll's Little Black Book and don't bring in Willian. I don't want Willian.
One of the things that Mikel Arteta said recently that I picked up on, he said in one of his interviews, when I asked him about, the plans for the future, and he said that there's 3 plans. If we do really, really good, well, i.e., if we get into the Champions League, we're going to do a lot of things. He said if we don't do that, the next thing is we probably won't do as much, which is probably if we get into the Europa League. But then the last thing he said was, if we don't do any of those things, then we won't be doing anything. So that means that, that would just be depending on, obviously, what we can make by moving players on and using that money cleverly. So I think so much is riding. And a lot of our fans don't like the Europa League. They hate some of the places that we have to travel. I love it because in Vancouver, it's 12 o'clock lunchtime. I can have a pint in the pub. So I'm selfish. I can actually have a beer and watch the game instead of a cup of tea at 4:30 in the morning. But there's so much riding on getting into the Europa League. I think it's a must-win game. And when I hear footballers, when they say things like, "Oh, I'm thinking of moving on because I want European football," get us in there, get us into Europe, get us into this, win this game, and you will be in Europe.
Well, exactly.
It's also sorry, interrupt. Also, this is this Europa League next season is important for us as a breeding ground and as a testing ground for the youngsters. If we want to bring through a ball again or whoever, if you want, you look at Joe Willock this season. He's been a roller coaster, but he's trusted by Mikel Arteta. You can see that he asks him to do a job, he comes on, does it. But if we want to develop him and him to flourish, he needs game time. Now, if he's not got Europa League, we're going to have to loan him out. I mean, John, what are your thoughts? Because you look at Europa League, everybody keeps on slagging it off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not what I enjoy watching.
Right.
But, Christ, if you want to bring through a centre-half from the academy, that's where you test them for me.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. And if you look at the track record that we've had with our youth players, they've come through. Look at Saka, Martinelli. These have been through Europa League. You called it a testing ground, and I think that it absolutely is, especially when you're prioritizing those league spots, those top 4 spot in the actual league, which we absolutely would be next season if everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I think as a testing ground, Europa League is extremely important. And that's not even mentioning the money that we get for being in Europa, which I think is absolutely pivotal, especially a team that's in the very midst of a rebuild. That is going to be absolutely pivotal for us. Just when you look at those two things in conjunction, when you look at the fact that that young players get an excellent opportunity, which is interesting to say right now, because those young players that got the opportunity in the Europa League are now first team players for the most part. Saka got number 7, so the next crop of youth players that are coming in now would be benefited by us being in the Europa League. Also, just being able to rotate, is I would say a positive and a detriment. Because it's a positive because those youth players will get a chance to play, and if we need them in the league, all of a sudden now it's not that they've just been sitting on the bench waiting for someone to get injured or some lower Premier League opposition that they can come in and play. So that would be an absolute positive for them. And I guess the negative is almost the same reason, that we're going to have to rotate a lot more to keep players healthy during the league. So there's always, when you're in two competitions like that, there's always that kind of dialectical tension between wanting to keep your players fit and as well actually go and have an impact in the tournament. So I think there's benefits and negatives to being in the Europa League. I think initially when I was thinking about where we were, I was more along the lines of maybe it would be better if we are not in Europa League, but that might be a little bit of sour grapes now that we're actually in the final. I can kind of change that view a little bit. It was a little bit of a rationalization, like, oh, it's okay, I don't want Europa League anyway. It's better if we don't. Yeah, and I think that I'm not oblivious to that very real possibility that I'm just completely rationalizing that. But I like to think that as I've kind of looked at where we are in terms of a club and a rebuild, I've kind of identified that this would be extremely beneficial to us, not only from a player recruitment standpoint, but as was brilliantly said earlier, as a testing ground for youth players, which I think we objectively and demonstrably benefited from last season. So, hopefully we can do it, because I think that it's a good tournament regardless of how early you have to wake up to see the matches.
Oh dear. Yeah.
I have a point onto that about Europa League, and I always try to respect all opinions and thoughts of fellow Gooners, but when I hear fans say it would do us good, we should be out of Europe for a season, it literally breaks my heart. It literally breaks my heart, and I'll tell you why. The first thing is, it's like, why as an Arsenal fan would you want to see less Arsenal games in the season? That's the first thing. I can't get enough Arsenal games. Okay, I might, it's in these weird and strange places, but as you guys say, it's a testing ground. It's an opportunity to see some of our younger players. I'd rather see them playing in that competition than going out on loan and just getting match reports and not really being able to see them with my own eyes. I'd rather do that. Also, as well, when they make the comparison, like, well, being out of Europe, it helped Chelsea and it helped Liverpool. They're two different animals to us. When they miss out of a Champions League, they miss out just the one time. It's a one-year thing, and they're back in it the next season. We were finishing in the Champions League, and a lot of fans were saying, I hate the Champions League. There's no point being in the Champions League because we don't really progress past the groups. So we then got down into the next one, which is the Europa League. Now I'm hearing, we don't want to be in the Europa League. Let's duck out a year of the Europa League. It's like, so where do we go from there? If we have a bad time in the league, should we go down a league and play in that league and keep going down until we find a league that we could win? Do you know what I mean? And what I'm hearing is, I hear acceptance. When I hear fans say we shouldn't be in this competition, we shouldn't be in that competition, it's kind of acceptance. We should be fighting. We need to be in every competition.
Yeah, it's that thing as well. You want to win trophies. You want to win European trophies. We've only got 2 in our history. So, okay, we're not on the Champions League, fine. But if we'd have won that Europa League last season, it would have been massive for us. It would have been massive for us. And, we talk about rebuild. Well, guess what? Last season, we only brought Pepe in as a real top-end player. As your big said, we still spent £100 million. But the season before, Socrates, Guendouzi, unfortunately, these guys haven't. Leno's been a massive success, but Torreira, he's flattered to deceive. We need those real gems, and we need to start bringing them through. Martinelli, he looks the part. He's an exciting player, isn't he? But like Stan says, I just want to watch Arsenal play football. I want us to be competing for trophies, and that's a trophy we can win. And you win it, Champions League football, trophy in the cabinet, and hey guys, look, we're winning trophies. Come and join us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
This is another thing I never got when it came out. Stan said to news outlets over in the UK, I didn't buy Arsenal to win trophies. I'm like, you're meant to be a businessman. The whole point of owning something and being successful in it.
I think that's unfair, to be fair now. I genuinely think, everybody's jumping on the Cronkies, okay?
No. What I was going to say was, why say something that make it so? Because it's the media. How are they going to expand it? Make it work?
It's taken out of context, isn't it? You look at the Rams; they've appeared in Super Bowl. You look at their other franchises; they've had success.
They're getting better, yeah.
They're growing year on year. I think I was down the rabbit hole of the Cronkies at one point, but when you look at it in the cold light of day, look, if in 2 seasons' time we're still, in the back pocket of Kia and Manola and Mendes and all this, okay, and burn the fucking stadium down and make sure Raul is on the bloody, is doing a Joan of Arc, getting burned alive. I got no time for the guy. Okay? I'm not too sure what I do. I got to be honest there, but I don't get that feeling from them. To be honest, I think they're coming to football and they're finding their way. And I know, yes, okay, they've been part share. They've had part shares for years, or the majority shareholder for years. But David Dean left the mess of a lifetime.
Yes.
When he brought Usmanov in. Okay, it's not been a happy hunting ground. And we've made mistakes as a club. Arsene made mistakes. Gazidis a fucking clown.
Don't get me started on Gazidis. That board-headed fraud.
Oh, I'm not being funny, okay? When you got Ibrahimovic, let him have it in thing. And I'm not against Ragnick or anything like that, but you look at where we are. You look at the internal issues we've had, but we've got to draw a line under sooner or later. It can't carry on. So this summer's going to be massive. We've got to get value for money, just to sort of kick on. Oh, Tony, you don't want me there anyway. You really don't. Fucking hell. There would be trouble.
You know what? We could probably do with a bit of Welsh justice in our boardroom.
Oh, yeah, but do you know what gets me, okay? And this is the thing that frustrates me. Is I love this bit, I mean, Stan, we're in the chat box and stuff, like all chatting and stuff, and what have you, and I listen to you on this, and I love talking with people. We all care about the same club. We all care about the club doing well. Okay, we may have different opinions, and we can argue, we can have handbags. It's all bollocks, okay? The only thing we all buy into is being ambitious for the football club. If the football club does well, I hope Raul Sanlehi takes my words, rams them up my arse, and laughs at me. Because if he's done that, he's done well. And that means I'm happy because I'm watching success on the pitch. I'm watching exciting football. The thing I like about Arteta at the moment is, and Neil Chimp, who's on the pod, who's on ABW this now and again, he doesn't do as much as he should because he's busy, but he's friendly with Jack and all that lot, okay? Jack Wilshere and all that lot. He always said, he spoke about Arteta, about Ramsey and a couple of others. They are serious about their craft. They're serious about their trade. They're serious about their football. They want to get better. There's no messing about. Yes, you can have a bit of fun. But if you're not putting in the work, putting in the prerequisite, the sport demands, then you've got a problem. And that's what you want to see from our club, No more Ponzi videos of Raul and Vinay. You two tarts can shut up. Get on with the job. Let's see more sponsors. Let's see better players come. Let's, as a football club, show a bit of ambition.
And I think what you said there about, obviously, Arteta's and all that, when they were playing it, how they want to be the best of their craft, and you can have a bit of fun here and there, but you've got to be, your main object is being professional on the pitch. We're still seeing that sort of attitude as a head coach, manager, whatever you call it, how he's addressing the Ozil and Guendouzi situation. Ozil's not putting his weight, he's not doing performances, whatever. He's not in the team.
Okay, question to you lot then on this now, because I'm really confused by this, okay? Because before lockdown, Mesut Ozil was playing fine. He was putting in the effort. He was putting in the prerequisite, effort required. He was doing everything he should have done. Right? Lockdown comes. He doesn't take the pay cut. 3 players don't take the pay cut. Only one name gets leaked. Right? One name gets leaked. Right? Now, the Uyghur business, when he called China out in the Uyghur business, the club sold him up the river. They didn't back him at all. Right? He had hell under Unai Emery.
Yep.
Finally, Unai Emery goes. Arteta brings him in straight away. Now what's changed again? So I don't know what your thoughts are, because I don't see Mesut Ozil letting Mikel Arteta down. I think this is something else.
I think it's majority the wage thing, but it's got to be something on the training pitch as well. But I'm saying majority, it's got to be that wage thing. But also the Guendouzi situation with how I was about to say Guendouzi as well, with his whole the attitude from the Brighton, obviously building up.
He's a prick.
He did it in Dubai. He was being nominated in Dubai. He got dropped. He then started changing again his attitude in a positive sense. So he got put back in. We've had lockdown and all that. Come back. And he started being a dick again on the pitch when we needed to be professional and actually get a job done first. And then apparently him and Edu called him into a meeting the following day, and his attitude stunk, and he basically went like Billy Big Bollocks, basically. And since then, he hasn't been in the squad at all. And that's what I'm saying. From what you said about the Ramseys and the Artetas, from their playing times, he's carrying that over to his coaching, and he's expecting nothing but professionalism, commitment, and 100% on and off the pitch, and no fucking bullshit attitude. For so long at this club, players have had such a cushy sort of lifestyle at the club. Sort of they can drop performances and be in the squad no matter what. Things like that. Suddenly, Arteta's coming, he's rocking the boat. He ain't having it. He's not mentioning his word. Everything he says to us and the public, he's portraying it match day to match day. And the Guendouzi thing's a big example of that, because he ain't committed. He clearly ain't committed, and they're trying to get him at the door now. We're trying to offer him to lots of Barcelona and Atletico, and they don't want him. But that's how bad we want to get him out the door. But going to look back now to the FA Cup history. I'll ask John first. What FA Cup memories stand out to you the most?
Well, so I mean, comes to mind is like Vieira's penalty against United. That's a great one. You know, that was amazing. But I had a difficulty. I was kind of thinking about what are the best FA Cup memories I have. Obviously, Aaron Ramsey's performance in 2014 comes to mind. That ended our trophy drought under Wenger. Alexis's goal against Villa from outside the box was maybe one of the best FA Cup goals I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, it was just ludicrous. But if I have to pick my all-time favorite memory or moment in the FA Cup, it has to be the story and performance of Per Mertesacker in the last FA Cup against Chelsea. Because look, I mean, we once again came to beat City in the semifinals. This was kind of Wenger's possibly last hurrah. There was all of this tension going on. Per Mertesacker, who's been this loyal servant to the club, he's been injured the entire season. He's come back for like one last match. You know, all of a sudden holding his next to him, it's this young center back that maybe he hasn't been able to prove himself yet against this team like, with Diego Costa and all these ridiculous players, Eden Hazard. So going into that match, I don't think anyone had any expectations of us actually pulling it off. And it was interesting because Mertesacker was interviewed after that performance, and he even called it a miracle. And I think that's kind of what it was, really. The performance that he put on against Chelsea in that last FA Cup final was one of the most exciting and really inspiring performances I've seen of an Arsenal player. And yes, it was just a one-off, but I mean, it was this is a player who is coming to the end of his footballing career, at least from a player's perspective, and to put on the performance that he did when he did was what we like to call absolutely clutch, meaning it was at the last minute being able to pull out all the stops and actually get the result that we did in that game was invigorating. And whether that kind of allowed us to, whatever the implications of that win, that's another podcast, but I don't know if it's just a recency thing where that's just the most recent FA Cup memory that we have. But when I'm looking over the gamut of experiences I have and performances over the FA Cup, Aaron Ramsey springs to mind, but Per Mertesacker definitely does. I think it was a little bit more unexpected and incredible.
The thing was with that, Chelsea were the best team in the land by a mile.
Yeah.
Can't be gone there. That midfield was sensational, okay? And, in the run-up, Koscielny gets sent off against Everton. That stupid tackle, right? Okay? Mustafi gets injured because that defence had been brilliant at the beginning of the season, right? And it had fallen off later. So the back three are Nacho, Mertesacker for his first start of the season, and Bob Holding. Okay? And the big thing about that, I thought Mertesacker was outstanding. It's one of my favourites as well, I got to be honest with you. But Ramsey and Xhaka decimated that Chelsea midfield. They didn't have the platform. We should have won that FA Cup final 4-0, to my mind.
Least, yeah.
We had enough chances. We dominated the game. And it was magnificent to see. But to be fair, from 1 to 11, they did their job. I mean, the Ox was magnificent, wasn't he?
The white wing, yeah.
You know, he's been wing back. He was superb. Hector was superb. You know, Danny Welbeck.
Put off shifting as well.
Okay. Sanchez awesome. Ozil awesome. But Oli Giroud, first touch of the ball, take it down the sideline, put it in the danger zone, up a days. Oh.
That's a very good memory from John. And what impressed me also about the performance by Mertesacker was a short time after that game, he came out in an interview and revealed that he'd been going through a period in his life where before games, if he knew that he was on the team sheet, he was getting himself really worked up and getting himself into a physical state where he was like physically vomiting before games. So to also be going through that and then to pull out a performance, you know, like John described, it was fantastic. Fantastic fake day for him.
What a man to represent the club. Do you know what I mean? When you everything you read about Mertesacker, he is just up there. You know, he's just a quality human being on every single level. And having the honesty to say what he said in that interview, I think, you know, I've read a couple of interviews with him where, you know, your heart just goes out to the guy. But, you know, you won the World Cup, you've done everything, and then icing on the cake, that's your last game. What a way to sign out.
One of my favourite memories of Per Mertesacker is, I can't remember the game, but there's a photograph after the game where he and Sanchez are being interviewed. And obviously there's a great height difference between the two. You know, Mertesacker is a lot taller than Sanchez, and it's just a still. And Mertesacker's talking, and Sanchez is looking up at him with his hand on Mertesacker's shoulder with this look. And I remember putting it out on Twitter, and I just put underneath, I wish my missus would look at me like Sanchez looks at Mertesacker.
Yeah, and just touch, we move on. Arsenal been better at final because, as you said, literally no one gave us a chance in that final. Chelsea were the all-conquering team in England. Even our own fan base was like, we're just going for the day out sort of thing. But to turn up and, as you say, decimate their midfield, dominate the game, chance after chance, as John said, rightly so, we should have been out of sight before they even got the equaliser. But then concede that equaliser, and within a minute, go up the other end. Giroud comes on as a sub, go up the other end, crosses it in, and Ramsey's just there, bang, at Wembley again. Again, fantastic. And again, that was a great end to what was, at the time, a very disappointing league campaign for us in terms of the league, just finished out in Champions League and all that. But again, it showed that when it mattered and the big moments and the big games, that squad of players could turn up, they could win the trophy still. But it was, that was fantastic. Most recent, obviously. Stan, what about yourself?
There's so many FA Cup memories to choose from. I mean, you know, we've won it more than anybody else for a start. So, I mean, that's always nice. But my first FA Cup was 1979. And we all know what a great game that was, the 1979 one. But my favourite memory, and it's a bit of an odd one, but every time I think Arsenal FA Cup, this is usually the first thing that pops into my mind. It was the following year. And I know it was a game that we lost. But I have a vivid memory of me and my friends getting on our bicycle, and it's the first time that I've gone to watch an FA Cup outside of the house after the previous year. So I was like 11 years old. We went over to a playground, and we went into the hut to watch the game. And I'll just will never forget watching Paul Allen herring along. He's one-on-one with Pat Jennings. And just behind him, you've got the huge ginger figure of Willie Young. And he just blatantly sized him down. I never forget that moment. I literally, my mouth was on the floor. I was like, can you do that? Is that allowed? Like, you could do that? Brilliant. And I don't know why. I know we've had a lot of wins, but it's one of my first ever memories of an FA Cup, and it will always stay with me, is that huge towering figure of Willie Young. And I've heard Paul Allen talk about it afterwards, and he said, you know, to be fair, you know, if I was in Willie's position, I probably would have done the same.
He was the youngest player that ever played in the FA Cup final, wasn't he? And there's a lot of sympathy towards him. And to be fair to him, he didn't moan about it.
No,
he just got up. He shook really. He accepted the apology, and they got on with it.
Yeah.
Imagine that in modern day football. Bloody hell. It'd be all kicking off and bloody red cards, this, that, and everything, and fines, just whatever.
Jacques could get sent off for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my point.
I mean, you could do that then, right? You could do that then. Do you know what I mean?
also, the English referees are appalling here. So, what do we expect? Jason, what about yourself? I've got a feeling you might go.
I got to be honest. The 2017 one's my favourite. It was a time, with Arsene coming towards the end of his career. The way nobody gave us a chance. Funny enough, I thought we had a chance. I don't know why, but you get the feeling in your stomach before the game, and I can actually back it up because it's recorded. So I'm okay there. I put
a bet on Arsenal to win 2-1 and it came in.
Yeah. Well, my other favourite one is, funny enough, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Cardiff. And I got on the beer with my mates. There's a gang of us, gang of blokes, gang of girls. I couldn't get tickets to the game. We walked in the walkabout in Cardiff, which is massive. It can take like 3,000 people. Okay. And because we were just chatting, it's like your mates, you're not paying attention to anything. You chatting, you're like this. My mate Dave gets in 3 beers each. So it's like 21 beers coming across the counter. And you're like this, just drinking beer. And as the game kicks off, Cardiff had been partitioned down the middle. Okay, and that's all you can see are 3,000 people singing Blue is the Colour. Right up. I'm in the Chelsea pub again, and I was like, oh, F this. Oh, no. And with that, Dave said, watch yourself, because I'm the only Arsenal fan there. Shut your mouth. No histrionics now. Behave. Okay, Dave. Well, of course, Ray Parlour scores. There's beer up in the air, the place has gone silent, and there's me jumping up and down like this. And to be fair, nobody gave me any grief. There was no nonsense till about 9 o'clock that night in O'Neill's, where somebody got told, I was talking to a bunch of Chelsea fans, and to be fair, these guys are all tidy, okay? There was not an arsehole amongst them until one of them turns up and starts giving it Billy big bollocks. Well, of course, you just turn around, mate, it's half a mile to the train station, you won't make it. So he walked off, tail between his legs. His mates apologised for him and went on to the next pub, which is full of Arsenal fans, and it's just the best night ever. 2 great goals, Freddie and Ray Parlour. And it was just, Cardiff's a great place for a cup final because the pubs are on your doorstep. It's a great place for football, and that was just magic. But 2017 is my favourite, but John's gone and stolen it. But that's another one, But it's just something special, isn't it? It's something special watching them lifting that trophy, and just magic.
I mean, that was one of my top 2, the 2002 one, mainly because of to come back a year after the disappointment from 2001 and everything that happened there. To add on to that, they had the courage to obviously know a year before we bottled it in the last few minutes, to come back a year later and win it. Fantastic. And obviously Ray Parlour being made. It'd have to be Ray Parlour the first goal and do what he did. But yeah, it's my other favourite one is the 2014 after 9 years on for 2005. Just because they had that obviously a 9-year drought of not winning fuck all. I was getting sick to death of my mates and everyone around me, all the rival fans, digging at us constantly. Haven't won nothing. The media, haven't won nothing again. Haven't won nothing again. And we get the final. We no one expected obviously holding the final against us. We go 2-0 down. And I'm thinking, for fuck. I'm at the Emirates because he did in the screening with my brother, and we're like 2-0, and it's like, this is Birmingham City all over again. This is literally Birmingham City all over again. And then Santi steps up, and from there on in, as soon as he scored that free kick, I said, we're gonna come back and do this. And by nook by crook, we fucking dug deep and got it over the line. Talking to time, which again we didn't expect going into the game, but fucking 2-0 down, yes, I can take it. Especially when at 2-0, it could have been 3-0 game over if it weren't for Kieran Gibbs. There's so much in that game that could have gone against us, up to even that 2-0 and 2-1 even. But from the second we got Sanchez Cazorla scored, I had a feeling we weren't that bad. We were going to pull this round. Koscielny then scores by getting knocked out in the process nearly, but he scores. And then thinking, yes, we can't fuck this up now. We've pulled it back to 2-2. We ain't going to fuck this up. And of all people to score the winning goal, the player that had been phenomenal for us that season, the majority of it anyway, when he was playing, Aaron Ramsey at Wembley, and then to do this sort of Charlie George celebrations, as I say, in the pits, arms spread, legs right, think, fuck, he's done it, and then see Wenger's face as well, because all the grief he'd had for the 9 years as well, the puff of the cheeks, the relief. He finally got that duck out the curse was over, sort of thing. That in itself meant everything at the time. No matter what I thought of him, thinking he had been past it, still it was time to go and all that. Because of what he's done for this club, that meant everything. To see how relieved he was to get that 9-year drought over with, and obviously we go there and come back and then win it again, and it's sort of we've picked up in that sense. And again, this is around the time when obviously it's coming to the end of his time. Tottenham are starting to peak up a bit, and we're still winning trophies, and we're going to be going down in our levels. But our expectations are still winning trophies, and but they're 2014 for me, just because for all them reasons I've mentioned, that was that absolute pinnacle for me.
It was lovely watching them all interact at the end of the game. Okay, watching people, you saw Sanya with them with Arsene. It was like taking the top of a kettle when it's been boiled, all that steam coming out. It took real grit for them to come back as well. You're 2-0 down in the cup final, and yet they keep on going.
Yeah.
And that touch from Oli Giroud for the win now is just sensational, isn't it? But I mean, I think we'd all done that roller coaster thing through that final, hadn't we? And to come out winning the other end was just, it brought a tear to your eye.
I will say that my heart was in my throat when Fabianski came flying out. We were after going 3-2 in the last few minutes, and it's literally he's come flying out, goal wide open. I think it was Luku, who then had a shot, but by nickel by crook, Gibbs got touched it and diverted it away from the goal by the skin of his teeth. But apart from that, I was like, no, don't. In that moment, I was thinking, don't you dare. We've worked this hard to get that. I'm not going to penalties, because if it goes to penalties, obviously it can go any which way. We're here now. See this game out. Please don't. And I couldn't believe Fabianski could have killed him. And I wouldn't mind, that was probably his best season for us, being our cup goalkeeper. Before we round off, because I know John's got to go soon. Favourite cup final goal. We'll start with you, John, first, because obviously you've got to go soon.
Yeah. I think the one I was mentioning earlier, I love Alexis Sanchez's goal against Aston Villa. I mean, just I don't know whether, I mean, there's probably better ones out there and more meaningful ones in terms of the overall effect, because we decimated them in the grand scheme of that game. It didn't really matter, you know what I mean? But if anyone's listening doesn't remember that goal, go watch Alexis Sanchez's goal from outside. It was just absolutely ludicrous. And this was a time where Arsenal there was kind of this criticism of Arsenal, and especially about Wenger's team of recent years leading up to that we just don't score from outside the box a lot. And that he just absolutely belted it, and it was great. I've watched that goal since then multiple times, and it just sticks out in my mind. I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there, but that one just I don't know what it was. It was just peak Alexis Sanchez, right? That goal.
Alexis at Arsenal. He loved playing at Wembley.
Yeah,
whenever he turned up, he scored a goal. But
it was a tie for me between that one and Vieira's penalty. It's just a penalty, but to beat United, in penalties, you lose your mind over stuff like that. And it's your captain, it's Vieira, it's United, early 2000s United, not this United.
It's also that United team that
Right.
up by 50th as well that same season.
Right, and if you think about like how the season ended in terms of where we were on the table, and then ended up, what did we end up doing subsequently? Obviously with the Invincibles, so that was kind of like a runner up. But I just love as in terms of an actual like goal, Alexis Sanchez's goal against United or against Villa.
Stan, what about yourself? You're on mute.
All right, Jason, you got me. I really like the Ray. My missus is laughing off camera as well. I really like the Ray Parlour one. As John said, there's been a lot of good ones, but I really like the Ray Parlour one because it was Ray Parlour. I've always felt that he's such an underrated player.
Yeah,
overlooked a lot in the England team. And for me, I think someone in the career that he had, you can just imagine what that goal must have meant to him. And it wasn't something that, if you before the game, if you were putting bets on, you wouldn't say, I'm going to stick a tenner on a 25-yard screamer from Ray Parlour. You just wouldn't do it. So for me, I'd go with the Ray Parlour one. Really pleased for him to do that.
We say that according to his autobiography, everyone in his area put a bet on him because he's obviously from the area. They've all put a 5 on him. But yeah,
well, I suppose they call him the Romford Pele for nothing, right?
So just I'm really quick. I'm going back just to watch that Alexis Sanchez goal again. He's got 2 Villa defenders on him. Yeah, he's probably about 10 yards to the outside of our box. He totally sends them the wrong direction. He's still about 10 yards outside the box, right-footed, just pings off the crossbar. I mean that. Damn, that's
he hits it. His foot is like an arrow. It doesn't bend or nothing. It just, as you said,
it's gorgeous.
It just pings off the crossbar.
It's gorgeous. And I wish I was around to see those goals that Stan's talking about. I was not. I was too young back then. But there's a lot of good ones out there. I think that it's true. There's a lot. It's a really difficult decision because we've been in so many. Like Sam was saying earlier, we've been in so many, which is a good problem to have, right?
Yeah,
good problem.
Well, this weekend's our 21st. We've won 13 of them. So what does that say? But we love this cup. I think
it's one of those things, isn't it? These goals are personal to us all. The Alexis Sanchez one, he was in his pomp then.
Yeah,
he was in his pomp. I thought, he was sensational. The season that the Chelsea game. And as Stan said, Parlour. You talk about Mr. Consistency. Talk about when everything's falling apart around you, and you need a guy to come on and represent you in the park. Ray Parlour puts in a shift every single time. We went to AC? Was it Inter Milan, wasn't it?
Inter Milan away.
Him and Edu playing centre midfield. We dominated them. They're just so personal there. They just, and I think they don't need to be technically the greatest, but they need to mean something to you. And because Sanchez, what a player for us. Yeah. But,
it's just that, again. Probably going to you, Jason. That Parlour goal, as I alluded to earlier, that's fantastic. As I said, because consistent, he bled for the club, and even touch on that Inter Milan, whom and Edu, that Inter Milan squad was considered one of the best in Europe at the time. And again, we absolutely on the night turned up and dismantled the entire squad and made them look like a bang average League 2 team. Not many teams can do that, and he was part of it. And he was captain that night as well.
Was he?
Yeah, he's captain because Vieira was obviously introduced vice captain in that era.
No, did not.
So yeah, because obviously I got the season reviewed a few weeks during lockdown. I was watching it, and obviously the game came up, and he was saying, "In the future, I can tell my grandkids I captain Arsenal at Inter Milan, where we won 5-1, and got to have that honour to captain Arsenal, but then to obviously get that sort of performance when we weren't doing well at that beginning of the stage of the Champions League meant so much to him because obviously he came through the ranks, this, that, and the other." But yeah, that Ray Parlour goal was absolutely. apart from Alexis, I think Alexis just goes over. I think it's slightly better in it because obviously, as John says, what he had to do in that with that, it's video lesser opposition, he had to do quite a bit to get to that opportunity to have that shot. Ray Potter had obviously. He just ran through and literally looked up, saw the goalkeeper position and just went and curled it.
Yeah, and just if you look at where Alexis is when he takes that goal, I mean, the cheek to even try to score from there is like it's ludicrous. Yeah, and I remember like listening to the commentary of it too. I think it was like Martin Tyler or something, and he doesn't even really like register it. I don't know what his deal is, but it was almost like stunned. I was stunned when I saw it. So.
Yeah, I think most commentators were, because they've all had pretty much the same reaction that day. Because I remember coming back and watching the highlights, and again, it was just a stunned reaction of he actually did that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jason, what about yourself?
It's the Ramsey goal from 2017, and half of it is because of Giroud's run and the way he gets it back. But those two combined for some great goals over the time. But the main reason for that was they just got back into the team, and you could just see their heads drop as soon as it went in. Chelsea were done at that point. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they tried everything to get back into it, but it broke them. You could see them. Oh Christ, we've done everything. We've just had a player sent off now. We've come back after that, and now that, and it was just the way, Rambo, the late run, always the late run coming through, I'm going to pick up the scraps here. Bingo, they had such a much vaunted defence. And ours, we wouldn't have let in that goal that day. We wouldn't have gotten caught like that. But the way you could see Marcos Alonso, his head drops. Aspilicueta, nobody's happy, They've just
even David Luiz is like,
they've all just started kicking the balls, and I really like that. I really like that in sport. Well, apart from when it's happening to us, but when you lay that on a team and you just think, got them, you're on toast now, lads. And I was so proud of the whole team that day. But that goal to come back from the equaliser and just to respond that way. Thought people always call Arsenal weak-minded. Well, no, I can give you example after example of showing you where we've come back and shown real metal.
Can I just say, I think me and you are quite evil, Jason, because I also love seeing a team when their spirit is just totally broken at the end, and they've got nothing else to give, and you can literally see the spirit just leaving them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, when you play sport, it's even better because you just smile. You just smile, you just, that's, but when you're watching these guys and, we like you boys have mentioned, we weren't given a hope that final, and the way we responded and the fans in the ground, and it was just sensational.
Yeah, going to my one quickly before we get score predictions. My goal has to be Lundberg 2002. When he at 2-0, we just literally bends it round Colaccini, and Dixon's before he pulls him into that, Dixon's already running off the other direction as well. And that again from the year before, obviously he got the goal in the 75th minute, and that whole controversy with that, and the fact that we've lost that in a controversial way, but to come back and then to be that guy to seal the game, and that was it. He came a year later, and it's such a fantastic goal as well. Went run through, went past on Terry. Terry's on his arse. Sorry, he was in that team as well, that defence, and just literally bend it, and then I think it was on the edge of the box, just bends it round Colaccini, and Colaccini he could have gone for that 9 times out of 10 and he would never have got it. And it's just a fantastic goal. And then see the whole relief of the players, because obviously a few days later we hadn't sealed the title up either. So the relief of the players, yes, we ain't got away for the next 10 minutes now. This is it. We've done it. that's it. It's nailed on. And I think very close to me is Santi Cazorla's free kick, as I alluded to earlier, because obviously that goal itself, 2014, gave us the springboard to push on in that game and get the result we got in the end. But with that, I'm going to go to score predictions. Going to wrap things up soon. So, John, what's your score prediction for Saturday?
Like my brain is telling me it's going to be like 2-2 and we'll win on penalties.
Oh, God.
But I think that I know, but I'm just because look, you mentioned earlier, you mentioned players like Giroud who have been in good form, but the player that really scares me on the team is Pulisic, especially how he's been playing. And with our midfield the way it has been in terms of lack of creativity, I think that we might struggle slightly in that department. My hope is that our ability to get the ball forward and pace on the wings will really give Chelsea's defense issues. So for the sake of not being too cynical about this one, I'm going to go with 2-1 Arsenal. I think I've predicted a different one. I think I predicted 2-0. You know what? I'm going to go 2-0. We're going to keep a clean sheet. Martinez is going to have a game of his life.
What about yourself, Stan?
Well, I'm glad you changed your score right at the end there, John, because right up until that bit, it was like you was inside my head. Again, I was thinking this is going to end in a draw, probably 2-2, go to penalties. And then I was thinking, well, if I actually have to give a score and I want to be positive, I was going to go for the 2-1. And then you went to 2-0. So I'm going to take that 2-1 because I just think that I'm going to be more scared if Pulisic doesn't start and he's lurking on the bench to come on at some point, because he's the sort of guy that if we get into some sort of a rhythm, he can come on and totally disrupt everything. He's got that in his locker to do that. So, yeah, I'm going to go for the 2-1 win, Arsenal. And
Jason, what about yourself?
I'm going to go 2-0 along with John, to be honest with you. I don't know why. I think it's going to be really important that we get pressure on the ball when they're in possession outside the box, because they got players like Mount and Pulisic who like to take it on a long effort. And as good as Martinez has been since he's come into the side, I don't want us getting caught by a surprise shot. I think we need to be active from the off, defend from the front. If we do that well, if we can put in a performance like we did against the City, like the City performance, we'll be okay. But we've got to stop, the likes of Pulisic and Mount, etc., to having free efforts from outside the box, because that will cost us.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't have clean sweep if Stan agreed, but I'm going to say 2-0 as well. I've got this feeling, if it all comes down to the lineup for me, if he gets the wing backs and spot on, and we obviously keep Pulisic like dead quiet and cut out any supply he can sort of normally give, and also, as I said earlier, put some up against Giroud that can match him physically in his game. That's half the battle won. Then you're sort of nulling their supply and the goal scores, and even if they take Giroud off and bring Abraham, he won't be no real threat to us in that sense.
But the thing is, if we defend deep, okay, you look at our two best defensive performances this season, Liverpool and City. Yeah. We're defending deep, okay. The guys don't have to worry about anybody running behind them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
But you've got to have someone like AMN then who can defend.
Yeah.
Don't bring Saka on later. As you guys said about bringing Pulisic or Mount on later on, they can cause havoc. Well, let's bring on our guys to cause havoc later on. Let's wear them down. But I'd like us to start out deep, because let's use the pace on the counter and negate what Ollie's really good at.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying. Yeah, that's what I was trying to basically explain. If we can do that and sort of have that Man City template in place this weekend, I think that's half the battle won. And I think the strikers, as Bamiyang, Lacazette, whoever plays in the forward line, as long as they turn up and do their job, I think it's done and dust the job for us. I think we will win 2-0. But yeah, and then with that, I think we'll start wrapping things up now. Guys, thanks for coming on. Stan, where can people find you?
You can see my post-match reaction videos over on Cannon Fodder TV and Thursdays and Sundays on the Arsenal Fan Circle.
Okay. Jason, what about yourself?
I'm at Jason Davison on Twitter and anything a Bergkamp on demand.
And finally, John, where can people find you as well?
You can find me on Twitter at 305cast. You could also find me on YouTube and Spotify, iTunes, all that fun stuff. And I'm also on Tom's podcast, The Gooner Talk.
Yep.
So I'm usually on there. So they just put up a new website, so go check it out.
Yeah. And again, thanks guys for coming on. I appreciate that. And anyone else that's coming along, watching this on replay now, even in the chat, if you're coming along seeing this for the first time, do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and smash the like button. Because I've got another show. I've got part 2 coming tomorrow, and I've got Kevin Campbell, Andrew, and a few others coming on tomorrow for the part 2. And then straight after that, within an hour, I'm doing a FA Cup final quiz. And then, on Saturday, I'm doing a Cup final watch along with a few of the guys. So there's a lot of stuff in the next few days that's coming FA Cup orientated. So a lot more content, and then I think I take a few weeks off before we've got another 9 months of football coming our way apparently. But until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. Until tomorrow, as always, up the Arsenal.